I'm joined today with Father Leo, the cooking priest from Plating Grace.
Hello.
Thank you so much for your time, Father.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so can you share a little bit about Plating Grace?
Yeah, so my name's Father Leo Patalinghug. People can't say that name. It's a Philippine background name. And Plating Grace is the organization that tries to connect food and faith. Mm-hmm. It's an international movement that shows that families are stronger when they eat together. Mm-hmm. And that's true not only for your biological family, but for the spiritual family. Mm-hmm. And you can see it connects obviously to the Last Supper. Jesus was serving up literally grace. So Plating Grace is a movement to bring families back around the dinner table. It comes in the way of a TV show called Savoring Our Faith on EWTN. There is a podcast that we are starting up right now. It's called The Father Leo Show, where we're dishing out faith, culture, and commentary. I'm an author, I'm a speaker, and also now a food trucker.
Really?
Yeah, Plating Grace and Grub. And what we do is we serve up amazing food, but with a message. I actually hire people either coming out of the prison system or disadvantaged communities, and so we give them a job, an opportunity, and we serve award-winning food.
That is awesome.
It's a lot going on there.
There is a lot going on.
My plate is full,
Indeed.
as you would say.
Oh, indeed. So I want to ask all of you to subscribe to Father Leo's podcast. I watched your one on AI, and that was really awesome. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, all you got to do is subscribe, and if you want to support us, just hit that Patreon button. But more importantly, it's, with my TV show, you can only do so much because it's for a particular audience. Mm-hmm. YouTube and podcasting and online shows, it's a completely different audience. Mm-hmm. And so I am one way, not a hypocrite or acting, I'm one way on this site, and then I'm another way on this site. I think the Father Leo show is just me. So I'll get a little bit more raw.
Exactly.
A little bit more honest.
How have you seen reaching out to those in a secular world in your vocation?
It's hard. It's very, very difficult. When we look at priests, we have two types. One is a consecrated religious, and they usually live in community. Mm-hmm. And then there's another group called secular priests, also known as diocesan priests. My community is kind of in the middle. We have the consecration of the religious, but we live in the midst of the world as consecrated people. So I believe that my job is to reach out to the people that Jesus sent his disciples to. He said, go out into the world and spread the good news. Mm. And that was hard. They all died, violently martyred. So I expect one day that I'm not saying this in any way honestly, Ray. I think the only way I'm going to get to heaven is if I become a martyr. Mm. I'm just such a schmuck sometimes. I'm so human. And I think the only way that I'm going to bypass any purgatory is just experience martyrdom. And you know what? I'm kind of ready for that. In fact, I kind of feel like Moses. Take me, Lord. Just take me now, But when you talk about reaching out to the secular world, my way of doing it is with something that we all have in common, and that's food.
How has the Eucharist transformed your life?
Well, I'm the cooking priest, so everything is food for me.
Yeah.
Everything has to deal with food for me. I mean, literally everything. And so the Eucharist, being the food of foods, the bread of angels, the flesh and the blood, the soul and divinity of Jesus, it's changed my entire life. I would die without it, and I would be willing to die for it.
How do you get to that phase? You mentioned martyrdom earlier, and so many people say that, but I don't think a lot of people mean it. So how do you get there? I'm not there personally. So how do you grow in that detachment?
Gosh, you know what? I have no idea. I mean, as you ask me that question, it's a good question, because I don't know if I am proactively doing things. I'm getting rid of stuff. I just realized, the other day that I gotta get rid of books, because I got so many of them. Some of them I don't read because people want me to read. I'm like, I don't know if I want to, but it's just I think God has a way of allowing these things to not mean as much to you. And putting in your life what is appropriately requiring your attention and your affection. Mm-hmm. Like, for example, now your kids are more important than your car. But when you were a teenager, was it not your car?
Oh yeah.
And if now your car is more important than your teenagers, then what you need to do is just ask God to prioritize your life. Help me prioritize. And I think that's kind of what I would say as advice. How do you stay detached? It's just inviting Christ more into your life and just giving him the permission to prioritize.
Oh yeah. It's hard to do because sometimes you're like, I really want to hold on to that. But he's like, I've got way better things for you.
Well, or maybe he's saying, I need you to hold on to it and learn from it and learn about it for now.
Yes.
Because eventually, you just look at, for example, the way a family operates. Eventually, the kids are going to grow up and they're going to leave. And what's the priority for the mom at that point? Or the dad? Well, it's no longer the kids. Even though they're probably very close to their heart, their priority is to keep living joyfully and not place your joy in your children. To make sure that you are living your life fully. That's always a challenge. And I write about that in one of my books. It's like, just because you're an empty nester doesn't mean your joy is gone and that food is no longer important or a meal with family and friends. Use your phone and call Betty from church and say, let's get some scones or let's have a cup of tea. Oh, yeah. Dad's got to go out and be like, hey, you know what? I haven't talked to Bill in a while. Get a beer, for God's sakes, with Bill. You haven't talked to him in years. That's what God is going to allow you to do. If you allow God to prioritize, he's going to tell you that still food is a great source of joy. And when done in a holy way, it becomes that sacramental.
And you think about the early church, right? Do you think that they ate with their families only every single day and never branched out?
No, that's how the church spread. Was
exactly.
They were eating with even pagans. They were eating with pagans, for God's sake.
I know. And I got to say, a lot of people have left other churches and come to our church because we invite people over.
Sure.
And it's very interesting. You look at the Protestants and they do that so well.
Well, but you also probably have a good priest.
Yes.
Who sees that his job is not just to be the spiritual, informal celebrant, father, but also a familiar father, a family member. You probably feel close to him because in his temperament and personality, he has allowed that to happen. And I know that there are some priests who are kind of more formal and such, and that's fine, whatever. But they need some discernment and realize that if you're only a formal father to these children, then you're only a disciplinarian. You got to learn how to play with your children as well.
That's been the hardest thing for me as a father, is to balance both, because I'm more of like a task, kind of guy. So sitting down and just being with them and playing with them, it makes a difference. It builds that relationship. And they always ask, "Can we have mommy and daddy time?" We have like time with only one or the other, and it's really helpful, and it's just amazing to see that. And it's cool to think that like what we're doing, what all families are doing, is they're building dynasties.
You are their hero.
Yeah,
literally their hero for about 6 more years.
Yeah, exactly.
So use it well.
I know.
Be a father who is family and a father who is formal, being able to teach them that proper respect to you, but also to see you as someone that they can come to for anything. It is not easy. Trust me, it is hard. That's kind of why I'm a priest. I would never be able to do what you do. And so I find also joy. I'll be very honest with you, when I see families struggling but also laughing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They can it's like, this sucks, but we're gonna laugh at this.
Yeah.
And just kind of move on.
That's awesome.
I remember when Pam and Jim from The Office were baptizing their baby. This was an episode, and the baby, pooped, and eventually he had to change the baby, but the poop was all over her baptismal garment. And so he dressed her in like a t-shirt, and now granted they were Protestant, but that whole idea was just beautiful.
Yeah. No, it's true. Man, well, speaking of heroes, do you have any heroes in the faith life that you've benefited from?
Of course, many. I mean, my patron saints. I mean, there are just a lot of people who, in a beautiful way, have demonstrated their faith. But I kind of also look to very simple people. There's a father who I know I remember disciplining his children. He just got down and just talked to his son in a very clear way. There was no question who was in charge, but just there was a gentleness to him. I look at that and like, that is kind of awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I look at just moms, especially single mothers,
Mm-hmm.
who are just trying their best to raise kids.
Mm-hmm.
And their humility and, you know, the fact that they said yes to life, that to me is heroic. And I'm not trying to sound like a beauty pageant answer. I really am not. But the great saints are inspiring. But you look to these very unknown people, and I watch people. I'm creepy that way. I really watch people, and I learn so much from them. These unknowns who are doing these heroic things. I sometimes think, because I pray this prayer, God, let me see as you see. Give me your eyes. I mean, you've given me your body and blood. That means that I got to look at people, hopefully, with your eyes. And I'll see these humble souls, and I'm just inspired, literally to the point of tears sometimes. Thank God I live alone. People would think I'm a maniac. You know?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. When I see someone that's truly humble, it just blows my mind because I always struggle with pride. And it's...
So I'll tell you, I mean, I'm looking at this and I probably think that you're probably one of these dads. Okay, so this mom filmed these boys who lined up all of these cups in front of the door.
Yeah.
And the dad walks in and the guy's like, what's this? You know, he's coming home from work. And the mom says, they wanted to prank you, you know?
Yeah.
And so the dad closes the door again and the mom goes, okay, kids, come, dad's coming. And the dad opens the door and falls all over the thing. I mean, that is a hero to me.
Yes.
I mean, I literally cried watching that stupid TikTok video, but I wept and just said, that is an awesome father. He might not be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he might even, God forbid, have infidelity. I have no idea. But at that moment, that was an example of a heroic act.
Because it's loving them the way they want to be loved.
Or loving them in a way that shows he knows. He knows they want something. And I'm going to, because it's appropriate, I'm going to fall on all these cups. The kids lost their mind. They're screaming, you know, in the house. And I was just like, I kind of want to hang out with that family.
I know. In your adventures, you talk about sharing the faith in a bite-sizable way. Can you explain what that means and how it's done?
Because we have so much to offer. And oftentimes when you meet someone and you talk about faith, you either want to tell them everything that you know, because then you're so smart and so holy. But really, we know nothing. I mean, the scriptures are very clear. What we can say about God, no library can hold the number of books that we can write about God. And all we have is the Bible, the Catechism, the Lives of the Saints. And now a lot of people are writing stuff in journals and all that stuff. It's just so much. I mean, we are not built for drinking water from a fire hydrant.
Yes.
We're just not. And so if we can take the stuff of our faith that we know well enough, that we've ruminated, masticated, chew on this kind of thing, that we know it well enough, it's really just one thing. And then can we feed that? But oftentimes we're trying to shove the catechism down people's throats. They will not appreciate that. But can we make it bite-sizable that when they taste it, they want more? Isn't that what we do to children?
Yes.
And so make your broccoli taste better.
Man, so how do you grow in that prudence to do that?
Learn how to cook. I mean, honestly, you know, you want your kids to eat really good food. You're going to give them broccoli and be like, this is nasty.
Yes.
Unless you make it smaller, put a little bit of Parmesan cheese, breadcrumb, olive oil, roast it, gets a little crunchy, then they'll eat it. You know, it really requires us to understand the stuff of our faith and how are we making it delectable, delightful, worthy to put in my mouth, which is next to your genitals, the most intimate part of your body.
Wow. Do you have any stories of bite-sizable faith?
Oh yeah, tons.
You want to share one?
Oh, sure. I mean, okay. Well, one of them is just it's having a conversation with an atheist. He was online, he wanted to interview me, and man, his followers were just kind of shooting up these messages, and they were just like, he's a pedophile, he looks like he, it's just there's tons of nasty things. And I said to him, if this is the community that you associate with, what does that mean of you? Just a thought. Because if you're kicking God out of your life, then the devil will surely come in. And just shows that your community, with all their comments, they're not of good things. Just chew on that. And that was just an atheist. And he was like, it got me thinking, maybe atheism isn't the best place for him. Maybe it's more of a Gnosticism. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good step in the right direction.
Yeah.
That at least you know that there could be something out there. You just don't know what to do with it or take any effort to it. So being able to just throw a nugget for just people to think about in a small way, that can be an example of a bite-sized theology. The second is talking to children. Honestly, if you can explain the faith to a child, then that's bite-sizing it. But oftentimes we just confuse kids because we don't know it ourselves.
Yeah.
So I think that a good practice is to take what we know and ask, can we talk about it to a child so that they get excited about it?
So I'm sure you've worked a lot with teenagers. What would you say is helpful in reaching them?
I think it's to stop asking questions and just being willing to share in a way that gets them to ask the questions. Because if we're constantly just peppering kids with questions, they're like, God, you're just so nosy, you're just too much. But when you're willing to be authentically yourself, they want to listen to you, and then they start asking questions. So I think it's being more authentically you. Please don't try to be hip. Please don't try to be cool. You are going to look like such a dork. Just be you.
Yes.
And people will be like, well, you're trying to sound cool and hip. No, I am just, this is the way I am. And if I sound like I'm trying to be hip, well, I guess that's who I am.
Yeah.
But the reality is we have people trying to be something other than, and trying to be one with the just cut it out. Just be authentically you. They love old people. Like when an old person just shares their stories, they're like, what? That's lit.
Yeah.
You stormed Normandy?
Yeah,
I mean, like, they don't even know what Normandy is.
Exactly.
But the more authentic we can be, the more they will take interest, give them an opportunity to ask questions. And secondly, take them out of their environment, not out of their comfort zone necessarily, but out of their environment and into the beauty of the world which God created. Take them on a pilgrimage.
How is it as a priest to say the Mass?
It's work. The word liturgy means work. And it's an honor to work in the vineyard, but it's work. And I'm also working on my own salvation, and so when I hear, like, if the music is bad, if the church is ugly, if the air conditioner is off, if the ushers are talking, if people don't know what to do with a crying baby or a mean person just kind of reading their bulletin as I'm preaching, that's work. So as awesome of an experience as it is to say Mass, it's also incredibly challenging to say Mass, and to say it with a sincerity and a believability and a joy and a hope and all the other virtues, knowing that I just committed a sin, the other day or this morning in the sacristy when annoying people were coming up and asking me thousands of questions while I'm trying to invest. It's work. But I do try to make it joyful.
Yes.